Hello, thank you for joining today. Today I want to talk to you about noise, and combating noise. And when I say that word noise, you might think, let's say you were on a vacation and you're in a hotel and you paid a lot of money for that hotel and you're enjoying it, and about 2 a.m. one morning you hear a beep beep beep. You hear this loud, and you look out the window and there are tractors everywhere, and they're paving the road, the DOT perhaps, they're paving the road outside of your hotel. It's not the hotel's fault. That doesn't help you because you're thinking, well, I paid a lot of money for this, and they're just making noise, and they're tractors and pavers and all of these different, machines that make a lot of noise. And if you're like me, I'm a light sleeper. I'm might be the only one in my family, my immediate family, that's that way. But I can hear a pin drop and it wakes me up. And both my children, my wife, they to my knowledge, they sleep. But I guess I'll sleep when I'm dead. I don't know. So I don't sleep well. So if I'm ever in that situation, and it's only happened a time or two, in my life, but if I'm ever in a situation like that, it just really just eats me alive because, well, I like to sleep, as you can tell, and noise can stop that. Noise can have another effect too. When you're trying to communicate, and this has happened. Well, let me back up. This has happened to me a few times lately. There have been situations in Florence. I can think of 3 or 4, recent situations where something hits the news and there's so much chatter. Let's take the water, the city water debacle of last week. Of course, Dinah and I actually were out of town. We missed all the fun. I would read things on Facebook and think, man, I'm glad I'm out of town right now, because it just seemed like a bunch of people were going to storm the city center with pitchforks and torches and burn it down. And the sad thing is, I'm not happy about what happened with the water and things shutting down, and I understand everybody was convenienced with it. I also have people that I love that work at the city center. So you get kind of called. And I also know people. There was a reason, and I'm not going to offer that explanation, but because I think it's not mine to offer. But there's a reason that happened, and from what I understand, people are being held responsible, and an engineering firm is actually going to be brought in. And the bad news is, I think it might cost the people of the water system more money before it's fixed. I hate that. I pay a water bill too. My water bill has not been a pleasant one over the years. Even it's higher now that Dinah and I are just Diana and me than it was when we had 2 kids at home, and 2 kids that really like taking showers and washing cars and watering the lawn. And I mean, so it's a lot of it doesn't make sense to me why our water bill is still so high. No leaks in the house, and I mean it's that kind of thing. But with all that said, there was so much noise. And it's hard to really get to the root of the truth when there's so much noise. And you can find yourself in that situation in life. And some of you, I know, probably have. I was talking to a good friend today, who said, the noise, the people who will offer advice, the people who will give you direction, attempt to give you direction, even sometimes when it's uninvited. And you're just trying to listen to God and say, God, what do I do in this moment? Now, you can apply that to political things. You can apply that to community things. You can look at this in almost any angle, that there's always noise. And name a topic or a controversy, and there will always be 15 people with 20 different opinions, and they're whispering them in your ear, and theirs is the only one that's right, even if they have 2. Don't know how they do that, but that's, it's kind of the thing. So if you want to concentrate and weed out the noise, Romans 12:1 and 2 is a great Great thought. Paul shared this. He said, therefore I urge you, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. So the first thing Paul says is, present your body as a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God. What he's saying there is, live your life as a sacrifice to God. Live your life as a living act of worship, a spiritual service of worship. He's not saying to put on the robe of a monk and walk around chanting or humming or whatever all the time. What he's saying is, in the way you live your life. Now here's the thing. You're not going to be perfect. None of us are. But in the way you live your life, live it as an act of worship to God. Then he tells you how to do that, because that sounds kind of vague. In verse 2, he says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. So if you will, don't conform to the world, don't just go with the flow and conform to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now in that, I believe he's talking about, we're walking in a relationship with Christ, and we're allowing the Holy Spirit to do his work. And if you walk in a relationship with Christ, you will be changed. That's what he's saying, I believe. Your mind will be renewed. You won't think the same way you thought. And if you do that so you may prove what the will of God is, which is good and acceptable and perfect. So many people say, I want to know and I want to do what God's will is, but I just don't know how to find it out. Here's how you find it out. Live your life as an act of worship to God, and be transformed by the Holy Spirit and in your relationship with Christ. And God will show you exactly what he wants you to do. And that's how you filter out the noise. Hope you have a great night.